One of my favorite things about Google is how often it updates its apps in order to provide a better experience for users, and that's been especially true of Google Forms lately. 5 or 6 years ago, when I started using Forms in the classroom, possibly experimenting with some online quizzes, I might have created a form that looked something like this one. You'll see I do have two sets of some questions. I always struggle with the convenience of objective questions, but I find that students' responses can be so much more deeper and show deeper understanding when I offer open-ended questions, especially ones that ask for evidence. But it can take a lot of time to read those open-ended questions, and it takes students time to answer them as well. So what I'm going to do with this online form is use some of Google Forms quiz tools and some branch logic that creates a partially self-grading quiz that gives me the opportunity to give students real-time feedback on objective questions and ask them to return to the text to fix up comprehension. I'm also going to leave at least one open-ended question for all students so that I can see their thinking and get them practice writing. In order to use branch logic, which I will ultimately allow me to direct students to answer more or fewer questions depending on whether they're demonstrating understanding, I need to have my quiz divided into separate sections or branches. So I've got a quiz right here, and I'm going to actually divide that into sections. So my first kind of title piece is up here. When I hit this, it's going to divide that section. And then I have to title my second section, which is really about setting and character. This is all based on chapter 1 of The Outsiders. And then after that first question, I actually want to divide it again. And then because this is going to be sort of a follow-up for the students who don't get that question correct, I'm going to call it Another Look, Setting and Character. And then once again, divide that off. This one is going to be about setting and plot. I'll divide that. This is the follow-up to that question. Another look, setting plus plot. Divide that again. And then my last question is about Pony Boy's alienation, a word that we've been discussing in class. So now that I have all of those branches made, I'm going to designate this as a quiz within Google Classroom. So if I come up here to settings, I do want to make sure that I'm collecting email addresses, or I would need to add a name spot on mine. Otherwise, you might end up with a bunch of quizzes and you won't have any idea who took which ones. Now I'll come here to quizzes, and I'm going to make this a quiz so I can assign point values and correct and incorrect answers. I am going to have to manually review some of those, so I will click on this one, and I'm going to let students see the missed questions, correct answers, point values, that kind of thing. So I'll hit save. Now I have the ability to go in and kind of create a key for each of these questions. So when I click on this question, I can go to answer key and then pick the question that's the correct answer. And I'm going to make it worth 1 point. This one I can't really put an answer in there, and I'm not going to make it worth any points in particular because it's going to kind of be a redo piece for that first question. This one is going to be worth 1 point again. Oops. And I need to establish the correct answer. This again is one of those follow-up questions. And then my final open-ended question that I would like everybody to answer is right here. And I'm going to actually make that one worth 5 points. They're going to have to bring in multiple pieces of evidence to support that answer. So now that I have all of my correct answers put in there, I am going to use branch logic in order to allow students to skip certain parts based on if they get an answer correct. So up here, if I come to my first multiple choice question and I hit edit question, I can actually go right here and go to section based on answer. Now, for the students who got it wrong, I want them to go to that next section, return to the text, find the evidence to support the right answer. For the students who get the correct answer, I'm going to go ahead and let them skip that another look section and go right to setting and plot. Same thing with the setting and plot question. For the students who get it correct, I want them to be able to skip that second step to provide evidence and go ahead and go right to that meaty question at the end. For those students that don't get those first two questions or those two multiple choice questions right, this is really going to give them an opportunity to go back into the text. They may have read too quickly. They may have misinterpreted things. They're going to be able to go back and look at that and think about it a little bit more and show a stronger sense of understanding. Let's check it out and see if it worked. If I go to the eye up here, I can preview. So it's going to come up like this and show me I'm supposed to be able to show what I can do on this quiz. And let's get this first answer wrong, or first question wrong. Click right there, next. It's going to route me right back to the book and ask me to provide some evidence for this, which is the correct statement. We'll pretend I just did that. Then I've got this second question. Let's go ahead and get this one right. And then it's going to route me straight to the third question, which deals with that longer question about Ponyboy's alienation. And then again, we're going to pretend that I answered something there, and I'm going to hit submit. So this will work at least until Google changes things and makes forms even more powerful. But for me as a teacher, it's going to allow me to really grade those higher order questions while still making sure that students have a chance to show their comprehension or fix up their comprehension in the times where maybe they don't have it. So there we go.